the beginning of Atonement. The ritual. Population. The plant landscape resembled one vast equatorial forest, with an abundance of magnificent trees and flowers, all equally tall. This forest stretched from the foot of the mountain, encircling the entire island. The mountain at its base occupied a third of the surface area. The forest was another third. The last part was the so-called coastline, surrounding the entire land. People lived on the shore, animals in the forest, and the mountain also had its inhabitants, birds. The second island, due to the lack of a mountain, differed from its sister. Where the funnel was, there was emptiness. Nothing grew, nothing lived. That was the inner, central part. The second part contained every kind of animal, including birds. The third belonged to the people. The human population was divided equally between the islands. They had no houses. They weren't needed. On the mountainous island, one person was responsible for sending the light orbs. On the other, another was responsible for receiving them and further transport. Beyond that, no one else stood out. Everyone was equal. The inhabitants of the mountainous island had a task to fulfill. In the evening, they gathered at a designated place, where all the birds also assembled. This was time set aside for their care. They had to ensure each bird was healthy and fully ready for the search for the light orb the following day. The inhabitants of the second island also had something to do. The path from the raft's arrival point with the orb to the funnel had to always be clear of obstacles. Vegetation also wanted to occupy this path, so whenever something sprouted there, it was moved to its proper place. This way the orb deliverer always had a clear path and could perform his mission without hindrance or delay. This task was assigned from the moment of full awakening. When the Dualeges were connected with consciousness, the program began. Only they participated in this task. They never asked why. They simply performed it. The meaning was to be revealed at the appropriate moment, which was also planned in the act of creation. The Amber Elder. On one of the planets lived an elder who did not look like the other people. He alone was short, hunched, and shone from within with an amber light. He lived in an isolated place. His existence was yet to be revealed. The amber inhabitant lived on an opposite schedule. He was still during the day and worked at night. He lived in a hollowed-out rock high in the mountains, specifically in the one from which day and night erupted in the form of a blue flash. This different mode of functioning was meant to make his discovery difficult. Whenever he touched anything, he caused the object to vibrate, and this vibration was passed on to the next, and so on. The vibration was perceptible across the entire planet. It was very delicate, but perceived by every being. No other vibration had the same tonal coloring, and this could point to his existence. He was the only one who remembered the past, before the world came into being. He knew its future, though he did not steer it, but at key moments he ensured it did not slip toward destruction. He alone held the key to knowledge about this civilization. If history saw the light of day, it could forever alter the idyllic life of the inhabitants of both planets. Development has this nature. It takes time, as a consequence of discovering the right answers, which will eventually lead the community to discover their origin as well. But this will happen when they are ready for it. The mountain, which announced the change of time of day through a sudden flash, did so thanks to a glass light orb. It emerged from its depths. Every day, a new orb. The elder's task was to catch this orb before it could fly out of the mountain. Then he would take it to his home, open a book, and read the same verses while keeping one hand on the orb. This was an indispensable part of his task. In this way he was to make the orb shine with its glow until the moment it found itself in the funnel. When he finished this ritual, he would go outside his cave with the orb. There his helper, a white eagle, awaited him. Taking the orb in his talons, he would fly out from the mountain and fly onward. He would always drop the orb in the forest belt, but always in a different random place. Then he would return to his master. This was their secret task, the most important work, yet no one was aware that it was they who sent the orbs into the world. This task was not meant to last forever. One day in the future, development and progress were to cause the production of light on the funnel disk and its underground part. It was to be a constant and independent creation of the inhabitants themselves. Then the elder and his eagle were to take on the next part of the creation plan. The ordinary day, the mountainous planet. Birds cooperated with people. Sitting high in the tallest parts of the trees, they observed the entire land. They watched for the light orb. One appeared every day, or rather every night. The search began immediately after awakening. It was always found in a different place. As soon as it was spotted, information about its location was sent to the person responsible for sending the orb. All communication between beings took place telepathically. Everyone had names, each was unique. Every conversation began with the utterance of a name, followed by a direct connection with the recipient. The recipient's task was to move the orb to the raft. It carried it to the other side. There his counterpart waited, who would carry the orb to the funnel and drop it in. The entire operation had to begin and end within the same day. Otherwise, the island with the sunken center would fall asleep forever. No one knew why their existence required such behavior, what had been before, or whether it was even possible to end this cycle and live on without. Fear that their existence could stop in an instant if they failed their task. They did not know the reason, but they knew what to do. On both islands in the human zone stood a stone pyramid driven vertically into the ground. It was no larger than a person. Information was inscribed on each of its sides. One described the tasks of animals, the second of people. The third was intended for the receiver and transmitter of the orb. It was not clear when or by whom the pyramids and inscriptions were made. The simplest explanation was that in the distant past, which they either did not know or had forgotten, there were those who created this world. They had a very important purpose for these tasks to continue until an explanation was found. Perhaps then a new solution would also arise for the possible problem they were meant to solve. To be continued.